So, welcome to another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour. I hope you are all doing well. Today, we're going to the US, and we have, as usual, an amazing guest. And we really want to know about this story because it's an inspiring story, and we really want to know how she managed to get to the level, to the level where she's gone, because it's something unusual that not all the women are doing, and I think you're really going to be inspired today. So don't forget to have your notepad, your pen, because there's got to be a lot of nuggets today. Again, you're going to learn so much. And I hope that you're going to be inspired, like I said, by our conversation today. So our guest, like I said, is based in the US. Her name is Merryl Tengesdal, and she is the first and only African-American woman to fly the United States Air Force U-2 spy plane. So she will explain to you what a U-2 plane is, and you'll be amazed to know, how she's been able to handle such a powerful tool and such a powerful engine. And it's just amazing to know that. So she's been a combat pilot, and she served in Iraq and Afghanistan. So we'll know a little bit more about it as well. She's right now retired. She's retired from the United States Air Force. She's retired as a colonel. And she, like I said, she has an amazing story. She is a native of the Bronx in New York, and she's graduated from, with a Bachelor of Electrical Engineering. So doing really well. And she started her career in the Navy. So I'm not going to tell you everything. She'll have the opportunity to introduce herself and let you know about her story, how she traveled to where she is right now, and what she's doing as a retiree, and really, help us to understand some principle that she's used and she's been teaching now that she's retiring from. She's learned all those principles from her career. So just as usual, I want to acknowledge our sponsor Gimski, and also the Marie Tulepima Global Leadership Organization sponsoring this show. And we are ready to have another, amazing conversation like we do every single week. So let's start our conversation with Merryl, and really, get ready. Like I said, come in, share, like, and give us your insights. Tune in and ask questions if you have any question to ask to Merryl or to myself, and we'll be more than happy to address the question. But also, you can bring your insight. It's always welcome. So let's start and have this amazing conversation with Merryl.
Right? On memories. But as I got older, I started to be more aware of some of the abusive sides of
So, good morning, Mary. Welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. It's such a pleasure to have you and to hear about, your incredible story and learn from you, especially, when we hear about plane combat pilot, we think about risk. So really understand, how you managed to take all those risks and become the person that you are today. Just to start the conversation, can you please introduce yourself and let us know, who you are and how, what you do and what how you've been able to reach the point where you are right now.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. It's an honor, and yeah, good morning to you too. It's early over here on the West Coast in the States. My name is Merrill Tengesdal. I'm a retired Air Force colonel, military veteran. I served 23 years. 10 of those years were in the Navy. The other 13 plus were in the Air Force. And one of the cool things about my life is that I was the first and only African American woman to fly the U-2 spy plane. So nothing planned. It was just an honor. So thank you so much, and I appreciate it. I appreciate being on here to share my story.
Yes, I mean it's just amazing, and I hope that we and I know that we're gonna get into it going forward, and that's the most important thing. So let's have just short video introduction, and then we'll start to dig into a little bit more into your into your past career, to understand really all the amazing things that you've done so far.
Okay.
I'm incredibly honored and humbled to represent the U-2. I think I'm one of two people out here today talking about the U-2, and it's a great experience. I love talking to the public about what it was like to fly in the U-2 from my experience. For me, I knew at 7 years old I wanted to be an astronaut, and I knew I had a plan, a basic framework on how I was going to do that. I know I was going to do well in math and science. Regardless of how well I did, I knew I was going to do the best I could. I knew I was going to go to college, and I knew I was going to be a pilot of some sort. And it was not until I graduated with an engineering degree, electrical engineering degree, that I decided that the Navy was going to be my best option to be an astronaut. So I went to flight school in Corpus Christi. I got winged in '96, flying helicopters out of Pensacola, Florida. And I started my career flying missions on the back of the boat in North Arabian Gulf, in the Middle East, and in South America. And from there, I became a T-34 and subsequent T-6 instructor for the Navy, but I actually was at an Air Force base. I was one of 4 Navy instructors at Moody Air Force Base flying the T-6 for instructing Navy and Air Force students. And then from there, I was going to separate, and then I talked to my commander at the time, said, hey, you would be a great asset in the Air Force. And I started looking at some of the programs, and the U-2, of all the aircraft that I had the opportunity to apply to, the U-2 was the one that resonated with me. I thought the mission was great. I loved the fact it was high altitude flying. Some of the reconnaissance stuff kind of transferred from my helicopter career, and went on the interview, and the rest is history. My family's proud. I kind of don't think about that part. I just do what I do. But I know my mom is incredibly proud of me. I know my husband is proud, and my son, who's 7, he knows I've done some cool stuff. He'll tell people, my mom was a pilot. She flew high, and that's what he'll say. PBS just had a special on the Bessie Coleman, which I was kind of featured in narrating some of it. Bessie Coleman, who wanted to fly and be challenged. I just wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to challenge myself in ways that had never been done. So the U-2 is that type of aircraft that is challenging. It's not for the faint of heart. It is not for everyone. And there are some people who are just good at doing it. And it's a small group, a small cadre of us, and we love it, and we love the mission. And you can tell by the people who come here and the people I'm talking to, there's just this group of people that love the U-2 aircraft. For 65 years it has flown. It has stood the test of time. Other aircraft have come and gone, but the U-2 is still here. It is still morphing, it's still changing, it's still adapting, it's still getting upgrades, and it's still blowing other aircraft that try to do the same mission out of the water. It takes a group of people to get one pilot up, and it's a phenomenal group of people. It starts from the intel officer who's briefing you, to the maintenance personnel who make sure the aircraft is ready, to the crew chief who's going to have you start engines and be with you during engine shutdown. And it's also, you know, what I said, people near and dear to my heart, the people from the Physiological Support Squadron, those people who one of their mottos is they toe the line between life and death. They maintain your suits, they maintain your helmet, they make sure that your food's in the cockpit, they make sure your seat kit is good. They're the ones who integrate you into the aircraft. They're the ones who see you the most vulnerable when you come out to get suited up, and they're the ones who keep it professional 100% of the time. So I love those group of people. I had the opportunity to be the director of operations there, and then I was able to command them for about 6 months. So those people are, those enlisted and officers, junior officers, are phenomenal. You have a moment to look at where you're at. I mean, I think we all do it at some point, and it's just, the view is serene. I always tell people, it makes me realize that, you know, the world is just such a small place, and sometimes we think the distances between us are so far, but it's so small, and there's just so much more out there that for us to explore, and it just, you know, it just makes like your life is totally insignificant to the rest of the universe. So it's a joy to be up there. Not a lot of people get to see that view, but it puts a lot of things in perspective for you.
Wow. So we are back. We are back with Merryl, and we are having its full house today. Let's just say hello to everybody. So we have Dee. Dee is watching from the US. She's saying hello. We have some of your friends. Olivia is missing your spirit and energy. We have Chika from Nigeria, and she is glad to be here again. And another friend, so excited to see Colonel. So it's for you. And we have Florence as well. She's watching from Burundi, and she is already, wow, powerful. So I mean, you know, when I see all of this, it's just like Florence. It's just so powerful. How was it to grow up as Merryl? I mean, what was, you know, how did you managed to get to where you are, and then did you have any role model?
So, you know, growing up for me, you know, I joke I'm vintage 1971. So growing up 1971 in the Bronx, at that time, you know, the people I grew up around were primarily Black, and there was a huge Jewish contingent. So I remember growing up and Yiddish was being spoken. So I learned a lot of good Yiddish words, but we won't get into that right now. I was not the traditional girl growing up. Playing with dolls and having tea parties was just not my thing. I was the type of person that wanted to get in the dirt and, you know, hang out with the boys and get rough and tumble and climb trees and swing on ropes, and that, you know, that was more fun for me. Sitting still was just not the ideal, and I could see that in my son now, which is probably my karma out there. So at a very, you know, what influenced me to become the person I am today, I will tell you, I had a lot of mentors. But the one thing that helped guide me was actually watching a lot of Star Trek, watching science fiction. Star Trek, for some reason, I got into my mind that I wanted to go into space. I wanted to be an astronaut, and I wanted to be like the rest of the Enterprise crew, like Kirk. I wanted to be at the helm, flying the ship. So for me, that's where all this inspiration came from. And at around 7, 8 years old, I decided I'm going to be focused and determined, and this is the goal that I've set, and I'm going to go do it. So I did that, and I continued to do that, and I've met some good people along the way that helped continue to propel me in that direction. And fast forward, um, I'm graduating high school. There was a couple of there was a probably a year when I was 15 or 16 that I did some science and engineering programs, and that allowed to open the door to looking at electrical engineering and becoming an electrical engineer. I had did some research in that field, so it was very interesting for me.
So yeah, so very, I mean, very early, because when you say that at 7, you already knew exactly what you wanted. And a lot of us, at 7, we actually, we were still playing with dolls and, not really knowing where we were going with all of this. And, it was really difficult. So, I mean, you wanted to be an astronaut, but obviously you didn't start there and you didn't become an astronaut. From what I understand from your story, you started in the Navy and then you moved to combat, to the Air Force. So why this transition? Because obviously the Navy has nothing to do with being an astronaut. You're just on land. And, obviously going to the Air Force, you're getting closer to being an astronaut because you're going in the air. So what motivated you to go into the Air Force?
So the reason why I picked the Navy first out of college is I did a little research, and at that time, when you looked at the numbers, most astronauts were naval aviators. So for me, I was torn between. For me, at that point, when I did a little research, I said, okay, the Navy is the pick that I want to do. And plus, they fly off ships, which is challenging in itself. So that's why I started my career in the Navy. I got helicopters. Helicopters was a great aircraft, flying H-60 Bravos. It was fun. It was challenging. It was a very dynamic environment. After I flew helicopters, I became an instructor in fixed wing aircraft, and I was at Moody Air Force Base, and I was ending my service commitment, and I still had aspirations to be an astronaut, and I thought the Navy would not be the best avenue. So I was thinking about going back and getting a PhD in engineering of some sort. And that's when I talked to my boss at the time, my commander, and we were just talking about my future. And he said, "Why don't you come over and fly for the Air Force?" And again, I started looking at certain programs. And when I saw the YouTube program and I saw the mission and how it was similar to what I did in the helicopter, and I also saw the fact that they wore pressure suits, space suits, because they're basically one and the same. There's some different modifications. And the fact that you put your body in this physiological position and it's a difficult environment to operate in. And the mission itself, I was like, man, this is what I would love to do because it gets me one step closer to my ultimate goal. And I just I just fell in love with it. I went out to Beale Air Force Base just to see the community, and I met the people, and found out this was a brother and sisterhood that I can really enjoy. And the people were professional and they were fun, and um, that resulted in me applying for the program and being picked up.
It's quite amazing, isn't it? That you had this idea and you kept everything that you were doing. You were doing, still being focused on that. Because you went into the Navy because the ultimate goal. You always had this ultimate goal in your head, and it's quite amazing to be focused like that because a lot of us don't function like that. We have those ideas very, but it's basically to tell us that we have to be strategic. Even when we take risk, we need to be strategic in taking those risks, and it's very important. But then you went into the Air Force and had the opportunity to fly the U-2. So what was your the first experience of flying such a powerful but at the same time, very dangerous engine, because I don't know if, the audience know what it's all about. I managed to get like a picture of it. Is just, it looks so powerful when you look at it, and you feel so small inside. So I really want to know, what was, your feeling and the first experience, and, going back, how did you feel?
So the U-2, it's a high altitude reconnaissance aircraft. The wingspan is close to 105 feet. I think it's 104.6.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically a big glider with a jet engine that provides about 17,000 pounds of thrust at max power. So it's a lot. It's a single engine, and the aircraft itself is designed to fly as high as possible.
Mm-hmm.
The weight of it is relatively light compared to other aircraft. The max is about 40,000 pounds compared to your 747s,
Mm-hmm.
777s. So that in itself, it's a glider with a jet engine attached. So the aircraft picks up speed very quickly, especially on takeoff.
Yeah.
So you have to be pretty aggressive in its nose pitch to not overspeed the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
The aircraft in the Air Force is probably one of the more challenging aircraft to fly, and it's due to the fact that you have a landing gear configuration that is a bicycle configuration, which means you have to stall the aircraft at 2 feet to land it, as opposed to just landing with an aircraft has 3 wheels.
Mm-hmm.
The pressure suit itself provides a lot of difficulty because you don't have a good field of view sitting in the cockpit. You can't move around a lot. And when you put the suit on, there's a lot of sensation that you don't have as if we're just wearing clothes. So you can't feel as well. You're not going to be able to smell anything because you're breathing 100% oxygen.
Wow.
So it makes flying the aircraft, especially in the landing phase, very challenging. But I enjoy that. I enjoy the challenge of that. And I think all the people that are in that community enjoy it because it's not for everyone. Some people will get inside the suit and say they may have a fear of close spaces, and they go, no, this is not for me. But I kind of enjoy those type of things.
Wow.
It is a dangerous aircraft, especially in particular when you are coming into land in what's called a no flap. So you can put flaps down to slow down the aircraft, but the stall margin is so close that if you're off more than 2 knots, you won't be able to land on the runway. In addition to that, when you fly up at altitude, the higher you fly up, the easier it is for the aircraft to either stall, fall out of the sky, or overspeed, which means it'll create structural damage. So the margin between that as you get higher becomes less and less. So you have to be careful as you fly that aircraft. And that's why it's so challenging. Again, for me, flying it, when I did my interview flights, it is a handful of aircraft, but it's fun. It's just every day she challenges you. Every day you cannot be complacent when you get in that aircraft. And always keeps you on your toes. For me, the best part about it is once you take off and once you get up in altitude, being able to see the curvature of the earth, being able to see the world from a different perspective is something amazing. It's a spectacular view, especially on a clear day. If it's a great day, about 55,000 feet, you start seeing the curvature. At about 60,000 feet, the sky starts turning a darker color. It's very quiet and serene. You hear yourself breathing. You hear the slight hum of the engine. And when you get a moment, if you're doing a mission or you get a moment to really think about it, you go, wow, I'm probably one of the highest, if not the highest person at that particular moment, unless there's people in the International Space Station. It's
Mhm.
not a bad place to be.
Wow. I love the way you talk about it. It's just, it looks so beautiful, but for us, it's actually quite risky and dangerous because when I mean, when I saw the size of the, the plane, and then I said, you are in, and then you have all this orange, attire, as if you were actually an astronaut. I'm like, wow, it must be really hard, especially the first time to really handle this engine. Have you been in a position, because I see you're very, uh, high risk type of person. Have you been in a position where you've been scared or vulnerable when you were up there in the sky flying this big, big U-2? And and if yes, how do you handle it? Because like you said, you're alone there. You are really alone. It's just you and the engine. And how do you handle this if you have, this vulnerability? And can you actually be vulnerable actually when you fly this type of engine?
So when I fly the U2, I don't feel scared
Mm-hmm.
per se because I know, as I talked about before in the previous video, there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of people that there's a huge team that prepares you to do these
Mm-hmm.
missions, right? So you have your maintenance personnel, your support personnel, your physiological support who maintains the suits, you have your intel officers, you have other pilots around you who is your mobile, who assists in getting you to that point of going to fly. So
Mm-hmm.
it takes a huge group of people to get that one pilot up. So you're not scared, you understand the risk, but you also appreciate the people who help you. And you
Mm-hmm.
also know you have a job to do and you've done the training for, we do about 9 months to a year of training prior to going on your first mission. So we train pretty hard, and you're not in that position where you feel nervous about it. It's just it's time to do business in the actual environment. So it's like, let's go, let's do
Mm-hmm.
this. Vulnerable when I'm up in the sky alone. Again, there are people we talk to when we do missions. We have talked about the intel officers. You have the DGS, which is the distributed ground station. These are people that help you along the mission. When you obtain the U2, since it's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, we obtain imagery or signals, and we give that to this ground station who
Mm-hmm.
analyzes it and disseminates it as appropriately. So we are typically in contact with someone, whether it's troops on the ground, we're talking with them, we're passing information. So is there some vulnerability? Yes, but this is a job that I signed up to do, and I take that freely. And I know that what I'm doing is helping the troops on the ground and helping the overall mission. So the vulnerability is worth it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So in a way, you actually don't think about it,
I
and
do
and
not.
that, yeah. So because you like you said, you went through the training, and then the team support is obviously crucial for
Yes.
you. And so when you go there, it's just like me going to work or going into the platform or whatever. And so that you get used to it. It's just so amazing to hear that, because everything that's linked to especially combat and airplane is always very scary for everybody, especially when the person is the one actually leading the whole thing. If you are in it and you don't do anything, that's fine, but if you the pilot, then there's a lot of pressure. So you went to war. I mean, you went to Iraq and Afghanistan. So how do you feel, when you go to war and you are actually the main person, the person that people are going to rely on, because you with your YouTube getting all the information, all the strategic things they have to rely on what you provide. So
Yes.
how did you feel about it? Can you tell us? And also, were you not afraid? Because, I mean, that's war.
Right. So I did fly missions over Afghanistan and Iraq. And I'll tell you again, you fall back on your training. You're there for a mission. You you have the support network around you, and you're like, let's get it done. I don't particularly dwell on things I can't control. All I know is that I'm here. I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to make sure the aircraft has been given to me in a great condition, and I'm going to make sure I can do everything possible to make sure the information that I get and is transmitted or sent to the right people. I also want to make sure that I'm there when I'm supposed to be at the time I'm supposed to be. These are the things again that I have control over, and I've been trained to do. And for me, it's business. So I'm here to do it, and I'm focused and I'm determined.
Wow. So let's go to the audience. I mean, we have few people that join. This is amazing. So happy. I think that's one of
Thank you, Lynette.
somebody in your network. So proud of you, Merryl. And we have Chica still, superwoman.
Thank you.
And we have
Thank you.
Tebelo is watching from South Africa, from Johannesburg. So she's basically referring to another lady who is, also a pilot. So, and she's saying this is so inspiring. So they are really enjoying. And Chica, again, I think she's all over the place today. It takes exceptional courage and intelligence. So she's really enjoying our conversation today, and that's really good. So, I mean, you obviously enjoyed, what you were doing, and just want you to let us know what was your memorable mission as as an Air Force combat pilot.
So, thinking about it a little bit, one of my most memorable was probably my first or second mission in Afghanistan. I just got in theater, and I flew my first, I think, yeah, probably my first mission over Afghanistan. That mission was it was a very good mission that day. It was a great way to start off my deployment. The mission itself resulted in, getting quite a few insurgents, and came back from the debrief and found out all this happened, and my commander was very ecstatic, very happy about it, and he wanted for me to go and talk to some other people, and I'll tell you, after about 12 hours, 12 and a half hours of doing everything, I just really wanted to get some sleep. I was still jet lagged from getting in theater.
I can imagine.
I was just I was like, right on. I felt good. I felt great, but I was so tired.
That's good, and it's just like any and that's when you realize it's just like any other activity. You use a lot of energy, and you went to work, and you need to rest. And
Yes.
and then really get back some energy and to start again the next day. And I think that's really what we need to understand is that yes, it's a risky. You were in a very risky industry. But at the same time, it's just your job. It's just something that you like, and it's your job, and it's you have mission to do, and you enjoy it. And for you, it's not a risk anymore. It's just an enjoyment, and like you say, serving people, because it's also needed. We need people like you for a lot of things, and a lot of especially security, and get information, strategic information for your country, and somebody has to do it. Somebody has to
Right.
do it, and it's good if the person who's doing it is also enjoying it, and that's what I see here. So we're going to have a small break, and we'll come back and continue this very exciting conversation with Merryl.
Thank you.
Hi, Melina. How are you? First of all, I heard you are incredibly intelligent. I heard you're into TikTok too. Wait, I'm just kidding. Just messing with you. But follow me on TikTok. I'm on TikTok. You can hit me up on Instagram, YouTube_personal_trainer788, Facebook for people who are as old as me and don't want to get off Facebook. Please do. Hey, be focused. You got the world ahead of you. You can do anything you want. There's so many people that have paved the way for you to do anything. So take it, run with it.
So we are back with our amazing guest, Merryl, who is, showing us, how enjoyable it is to be an Air Force combat pilot. And I don't think we looked at it like that before, but it looks like it's really, something that you can do as well. You can do anything that you want, but if you are young, obviously, and not our age, but that's fine.
We're not that old. We're not that old. There's
we're not that old. You are retired, and I'm a year older, so it's kind of we leave it to the younger generation. So one question that I wanted to ask you: you are a wife, and you also a mom. So how did you balance, this career, your career, your role as a combat pilot, with being a mom and being a wife?
So let's preface with when I had my son, I didn't do any other combat missions. I still flew the U-2, but not in combat. So okay. I will preface with that. I was married. I got married probably around 35, and my husband has his own career. He's also a reservist in the Navy, so he understands the rigor of deployments, and we have an understanding. We understand one another. When my son was born, I waited till later to have him, just because I'm flying a U-2. You cannot fly a U-2 while pregnant. It provides its own challenges.
I can imagine.
So that didn't happen. So the only opportunity was during my staff tour back in 2011, and I was 40 at the time, and had my son at 41. So at that point, balancing with my son and my husband, I don't know if I could say it was balancing instead of a more controlled chaos type of situation.
Welcome to the club. Good.
Yeah. So, some people say, "Oh, I balance everything." I'm like, there's no way. You have to prioritize. It's every day a prioritization. Exactly. And you have to just look at the situation as it is. I remember when I was working in the Pentagon in my last tour, my husband was also working in there, but he worked in a more classified location. And I get a call that my son is sick, and I had to go pick him up. But I'm also doing a tasker for the 3-star, because I work directly for him, because I'm at that moment, I'm the director of inspections for the Inspector General. So I work directly for 3-star. And he's not feeling well. I can't keep him in daycare. So luckily, we pick an area that's close to. I have to jet out for about 15 minutes, pick him up. I still have to do my work. Luckily, my situation at that time, I was running the office that was there, and most of the people who work for me had family members. So if there were times when someone had to go get their kid, they can go.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of us would pick up the load. This is what team members do. We don't, we're working in an office environment. So with my son, I just had to pick him up, brought him to my office, put a couple of blankets down, and said, go to sleep for a couple of hours, then and go do my work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the office, again, we're all family oriented people, so
Mm-hmm.
we know that sometimes that's just what you have to do. You still get the
Mm-hmm.
work done, but sometimes you have to be a little creative on how that gets done. And I
Mm-hmm.
think you see that now when you have COVID, a lot of people are working home or doing things and
Mm-hmm.
being able to take care of the family. So again, it's more of a control chaos. So that's how, depending on the situation, you just react as necessary.
Mm-hmm. And that's well said. Is more controlling, and and also prioritizing. And you need a partner who understand what you're doing, because
Absolutely.
otherwise it becomes really a great challenge for everybody, and that's very important. So balance is not always it's not always on the menu. It's
No.
we have to control and be very strategic as well, because like you said, you were working at a certain place, but you had to make sure that the daycare is not too far. So if there's something, then you can react quickly. So that's really good. But it's just impressive to see, because what we normally see, and I've seen it. I've worked in in male-dominated environment. It has a lot of ladies don't have families, and because it's so hard in those industry to have a family. So I mean, for those who start families, it can be very challenging. So I
It,
mean,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely can be. I think for
Mm-hmm.
us, my husband and I were older and we had a younger child, and you have, our parents are much older. So,
Mm-hmm.
my mother-in-law is, I think she celebrated her 93rd birthday this
Oh
year.
yeah, yeah. You're
So,
not gonna bother her, no.
yeah, so you can't, so, our mothers are not going to come in and be able to help. They're
Mm-hmm.
just not able to. So you have to rely on or create another structure, another network around you, whether it's friends,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's close friends or other family members that are able to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to be creative.
You have to be creative, definitely. I can concur on this one. You have to be very creative. So I mean, you've obviously been a minority in everything that in every industry that you were. I don't know about the Navy, but at least in the Air Force at this level, being able to, you're the only African American you've been able to fly the U-2. So what are the key challenges that you went through, all the obstacle as a minority, and how did you address, how do you particularly address them, and to keep going, because you need something that's going to drive you, and you have some strategies that you've used to. I know you've been a very focused person, but how did you address those challenges?
So I think, as I think about this, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the challenges, yes, I've been usually the one and only in a lot of situations. And there's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there may be two or three of us.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most of minorities I experienced was when I was actually going through flight school back in
Mm-hmm.
'95. But when I think about this, um, one of the challenges, and this is more internal to me because I look at
Mm-hmm.
myself a lot,
Mm-hmm.
is that sometimes you have to get out of your own way. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by that is that when you're one of a few in a more dominated, whether it's male, whether it's white dominated, you put a lot of pressure on yourself to perform well.
Mm-hmm.
You you want to you've got to put in 120, 150% because
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to you want to make it better for the next person coming after you
Mm-hmm.
if there's someone else coming after you. So you need to make sure everything's on point. If I go into a meeting and I'm the only Black female in there. It's a lot of pressure. To me, every word that I say has to be significant. I have to come prepared. I have to do all that. And that is very challenging, especially for women and people of color, because we put that pressure. And I am sure you've been in a situation where you've been in a room with someone else who looks like you and they say something outrageous and you want to pull them aside later and go, what are you doing? So there might be sometimes you do that. But for me internally, you have to be able to give yourself a little grace and say, you're going to make mistakes, but it's going to be okay because you put forth the best effort all the time, and they're going to have to eventually respect that. You can't, there are some people who are going to have views or negative views of you because of your race, because of your gender. They're going to have it regardless. And all you could do is outperform as much as possible. And eventually, they're either going to look like haters and people are going to disregard them, or they're just going to stop talking because there's nothing that they could say about your performance. So that is probably one of the challenges. And, I talked about, I learned that lesson early on in flight school when I had a flight instructor who said, look, you're a good pilot. So there's going to be a point where people can't say anything about you because you're just that daggone good. So I've always kept that with me.
And it's amazing because when I listen to you, that's exactly what I went through. Is that you arrive, you're the only Black person in the company at this level, and you have those fears. You have those fear of being judged. But when you realize that it's about your result and you have to deliver, and whatever people think, if you deliver, there's no debate basically. That's when you basically free yourself and you just go as high as you can. And that's the important thing to remember. Like you said, people are always going to judge you, but if you deliver and if you over deliver in a way, they can't say anything. They just have to to acknowledge that you're bringing value and you deliver and you are where you're supposed to be, irrespective of them liking you or not. And that's important that people understand that, especially us women, we tend to really take things personally, but at the end of the day, it's about business. If we're there, even if we are a minority, it's about delivering and bringing everything that we can to be the best. And when we are the best, then nothing can happen to us, and nobody can do it, can say anything. So that's really an important point to highlight here. So I mean, you've done all of this, and you've enjoyed your career. So now you are retired. So what do you do?
I retired. To a lot of people's chagrin, I don't fly for the airlines. I actually, I'm a personal trainer at a local sports club. And the reason why I chose this particular profession, one, I like working out. Fitness is very important. I played sports when I was a kid. I played sports in high school. I played sports in college. It's always something that grounds me quite a bit. But I use fitness now as a conduit to reach out to people and mentor young people, especially people who want to join the military, especially ladies who want to join the military, or they can't do a push-up, or they have maybe a weaker upper body and they want to get stronger. So for the young folks, it kind of helps me talk to them and break down some barriers, and also kind of see where their physical stamina and their endurance is. And during the workout, we can talk about their goals, even if it's not in the military, what they want to do and how they're going to get there. So I ask them a lot of questions, and it's kind of hard to put up a wall when you're tired after doing a bunch of jump rope for 5 minutes or punch in the bag for a while. So we have an open, honest discussion. But I also have clients that are much older. My oldest client that I've had for about 2 years is 76 years old. And
Oh, okay.
he's a retired lawyer and a reserve judge. And I think for us, there's this peer-to-peer type talk because I am a retired colonel. I have been in a position where I've led and managed. So we're able to have some interesting conversations, whether it's political. I'm pretty adept in talking about a whole bunch of things. So, and then I have people in that spectrum, 20s, 30s, 40s. So I love fitness because you see the best in people. I can push people. I get to listen to people, and it helps me just mentor. And I get mentored sometimes, so I just love it. I love the environment. It's a great place to do what I do and help people become better.
Yeah, and do you use what, obviously, I don't know, you use the lesson that you've learned as, as a Navy and Air Force, person
Absolutely.
in your training, because
Uh,
that's really powerful. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I share my experiences. I have a few younger people. One lady who wanted to join either the Air Force or the Navy, and we worked out a little bit. I helped kind of guide her and how to get through the process because I was familiar with the process. She actually got picked up. She doesn't want to be known, but she got picked up by the Navy for pilot program. So she'll start.
Okay.
She doesn't know when her start date is. I have another young man who he's waiting on getting a test for his vision, but he wants to join the Army and fly helicopters. So, and I've known him since he was 15. And
Okay.
so, I formed these relationships with people and I kind of just help them because we've got a lot of good people out there, a lot of potential leaders, and I want to see them in the forefront.
And I think that's the way to to build a legacy, because it's not about just keeping everything, all the learning for you. It's to pass
Oh, yeah.
it on to to other people and to the next generation, so they can actually do even more than you've accomplished. And so which leads me to ask you this question. What would you what kind of advice would you give to the next generation of women who want to follow on your footstep, in the Air Force?
Right. So I got to the Air Force. It was a little non-traditional, but you got to be focused and determined to get there. This journey is not for the faint of heart. It's not going to be easy. You may have some failures along the way, and it happens, but you just got to keep pressing on. If this was easy, everyone would do it,
Yeah.
and they don't, and it weeds out people. How much determination do you have? How much tenacity do you have? How much can you persevere? How much struggle are you willing to take on to get where you need to be? Because a lot of people don't like to struggle. But the struggle is what makes us better and what makes us stronger. So if you want to follow in these footsteps, get ready. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a great journey. I mean, I'm still on it, and I'm enjoying it. I love the challenge. I love the struggle. I love to work hard, and I love to persevere above it. There's something very exhilarating about it.
And that's what that's a message to really pass on to everybody. I would say everybody, because in everything, you have to be focused. You have to have great determination, and there's going to be failure at any time. So you have to be able to pick up the pieces and keep going, keep being focused on what you want to accomplish, like what you started at 7 and then you kept going and going, challenging yourself until you reach your goal. and it takes a lot of time. And I think sometimes people like shortcuts. And but I mean, in this type of career, you can't actually take any shortcuts. You have to go through the struggle. Like you said, it's the struggle is going to make you great, and you're going to get greater and greater through all the struggles and obstacles that you gotta go through. So that's really powerful, and I hope the audience is getting it. We have a few comments here. Again from Tebelo, so amazing to meet a real fighter pilot who looks like me. That's Tebelo from South Africa. And we have Rhonda here. Rhonda is in Texas. Rhonda is watching from and Connect and Use Fitness. So she's talking about the second part of your career, and Florence is still here, so encouraging. Yes, she is amazing and she is inspiring. So please, take notes and make sure you connect with her even after the show to get all those, this wisdom that she's been able to acquire through a career, such an amazing career. So we gotta have another. I have another question though before we go to another break. And I really wanted to ask you if you have any regrets that obviously you're retired, you've had a great career. Do you have any regret? And what are your expectations for the future? Because like you said, I mean, you're still young.
So any regrets? Heck no, I don't have any regrets. Look, I didn't become I didn't become an astronaut yet. There's still time. But gosh, it's been great. I did not know that I would make it here. But I'm here, so I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to get as much out of it as I can, and I'm going to share it with as many people as possible. And those experiences for anyone who wants to listen, or if I can help in any way, that's the beauty of this. That's the beauty of taking a journey, and working hard at that. So no regrets.
No regrets. That's fantastic. And I was not expecting something different, but I just wanted to ask the question. You never know. And like as you said, you're still young. We're still young. As long as there's life, there's always something to do. And one of my motto is actually don't leave anything on the table of life. So you have to keep going, and go to the next level all the time. In wherever you are and wherever it matters. So that's very important. So we're gonna have another inspiring video from you, and we're gonna conclude the show after that.
Okay.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Just came back from an hour-plus bike ride, feeling good. It's another great day in California. Most of my workouts have been outdoors recently, just enjoying the weather. What's interesting about this bike ride is I was thinking about the graduate of class 2020. And number one, congratulations to all you guys out there who are graduating. I know this has been difficult times, and maybe your graduation and your senior year is not quite what you expected. No one expected these changes to happen. But as you move on to the next phase of your life, or the journey you're about to take after school, I just want to make sure that you're thinking of a couple of things. And one of them is, are the goals and the dreams that you have, how does that match within the reality that we're facing right now? Now, this COVID situation has changed the landscape of the world in a lot of ways. And some of them may not manifest itself to 3 to 5 years later. And that's going to be the time when you're doing studies, or you're learning a trade, or you're doing the next phase of your life. So how is that going to impact you? And are the things that you are studying right now giving you the advantage to be able to pivot in a dynamic environment? You may have dreams, and that's great, and it's great to have goals, but you have to look at it against reality. And what may have seemed easy 6 months ago may not be that simple now, or may not be that easy now. So just think about that. Just look at the news, non-biased. Look at the environment. Look at the situations that are around you. So for example, if you're going to be a pilot per se in the airline industry is being affected pretty hard. How long will they be affected is anyone's guess. But there are some people who have worked in the industry, have been making some educated guess, and they've been talking about it. So how does that affect you? And how does that affect the way you pursue your studies and your certifications? Because I don't want to see you go to college or do the next higher level of education and after 4 years come out with a degree and be happy, but then you can't get a job. So just think about that for a moment and just look at it maybe every year, every 6 months, and just see how your goals and dreams are bumping up against reality, because reality will be the indicator. But I don't want you to come out with these certifications and then just be disappointed because it's hard to find a job. So good luck out there. You guys have a great weekend.
So yes, so good video for the next generation actually, and like you were mentioning in this video, I mean, in this time of COVID, I mean, everything is underground, so hard, it's hard for this new generation to come in and see what's happening. So what you were saying is that they have to look at the environment and know how to pivot, because that's very important as well, to have this flexibility in a way, and especially now in this period of volatility and uncertainty. So I mean, I wanted to ask you, because you've accomplished so much, and still is, by sharing your story, by mentoring, coaching, you bringing over with you. So I just want to know what legacy are you working toward? Do you have an idea of the legacy that you want to leave?
So, I think if anything that I think about my son, who's 7, so same age as when I was. He has no idea what he wants to become, by the way. So
he didn't inherit it from mom.
Yeah, that DNA didn't transfer. But I think about those young children, and what I want people to take away, I guess, from my legacy is that be fearless in whatever you do. Don't let people put you in a box or describe you in this container. Be who you are. Don't let people put you in that box or think that you're this person or that person. You have to shine for that. And I try to walk that, being fearless in everything that I do. I want to make that impression upon people as I perform every day, that I'm here to get the work done. Don't assume, don't think you know me, because you don't. I'm here to do business. I'm here to, whatever I'm doing, I'm here to kick butt. I'm here to take names. I'm here to be the best that I can be. So, don't think you know me, because you don't. And that's what I would impress upon my son. Whatever you do, be fearless. And he's fearless. Whew.
He has to get it from somewhere. And we know where anyway. So that's really great and very powerful statement. Be fearless in whatever you do. And I hope the audience is taking notes. Be fearless in whatever you do. And the most important thing, don't let people put you in a box. Because you are the only person, you know who you are, you know what you're capable of doing. So why do you want people to put you in the box? So prove people wrong and know who you are, because that's the most important thing. If you don't know who you are, you don't know your value, and you easily, people are influencing you easily, and you don't get to really, to really live your dreams and really express yourself, and that's very important. So we're going to have a small round again. Here, there's Florence again. It's all about passion. When you're passionate, there's no mountain you can't climb.
Absolutely.
And Tebelo, don't let people put you in a box. I think it resonates really a lot with her. And for Florence, this is amazing. She's been all over the place. I think she's really enjoying whatever you do. Be fearless. So we have Nomtha who joined in the middle. She's also joining from South Africa. And again, Florence, don't let people put you in a box. Whoa. And so, Florence, I hope you're going to share this message with people in Burundi, because it's a very powerful message from Merryl. We had a great time and lots of wisdom from Merryl. Very inspiring story and very inspiring conversation. A lot of nuggets from Merryl. And I'm really excited and really happy that we had this conversation. I'm impressed by what she's been able to do. And I know she's still young, and she's going to continue to have an impact, in the world. So it's just, I think it's just the beginning for her. So Merryl, we're getting to the end of the show. How can people, connect with you if they want to know a little bit more about you or continue this conversation, or why not get, coach and mentor by you?
Right. So Instagram. I'm also, you can look under my name, Merryl Tengesdal, but my handle is U2_personal_trainer 788. You'll see the 788 because that's my pilot number in the YouTube. You can also get in touch with me on Facebook. I have a business account on Facebook, even though I joked about Facebook in one of the videos. Also, I have a YouTube channel, and then you can also find me on merryltengesdal.com on my website, so you can contact me on there as well.
Wow! So it's been amazing, and I thank everybody for for being here. I've learned so much today, and even when I was preparing the show, I've learned about aircrafts and the YouTube. I got the opportunity to read a little bit more about the YouTube, and really understand how powerful, and understand how amazing she is to be able to fly this this engine, because it's not, like you said, for the heart fainted, because I know somebody like me, I probably faint when I go into it, and it's just so cool and so amazing. So we're gonna have another break, and I'll leave the last word to Merryl, and then we'll call it we call it the day for the show today. So, Merryl, what is the what are the last words that you wanted to leave the audience with?
I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for the kind words. I appreciate it. Jim, Olivia, Lynette, Memphis Jones. I appreciate some of people I've known and worked with on here. So that was great. Everyone else, it was great to meet you. Thank you so much for the kind words. And I'll keep doing what I'm doing, and just get my message out there. I see I'm going to have a couple of new friends here, like Chicas and Florence. So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to talking with you guys.
They're really on fire today. So I think you're gonna hear from them, and they're gonna be your ambassadors, I think, in Burundi and in Nigeria. So that's really good. So that's the end for us. We have another show. We have another show on Monday, and on Monday I'm gonna get a gentleman, and he's gonna talk to us about. So his name is Craig Lemasters, and he's gonna talk to us about being unstuck in and and related more into the entrepreneurship area. So it's going to be interesting to see his perspective, and he's a very experienced entrepreneur. He's also an author and an investor as well. So we will learn quite a lot from him, and then pick a little bit of his experience for 1 hour, and you'll get the opportunity, hopefully, to connect with him later on. For those who still want to connect with me, these are all my, where you can, connect with me, my email, website, LinkedIn, I'm everywhere. So I also have a unique name, so you can find me everywhere. So it's been amazing, and I really want to thank you again, Mary, for your time, and really taking the time to tell us how you to relate to us your journey and the key points that actually build you up and help you to become the amazing and inspiring person that you are today. And we all learning from you, and I think we're all going to continue to learn from you as well, because it's a unique experience that anybody should grab a little bit of peace from and build on. So that's been amazing. And so I wish you a great, an amazing weekend following this show. And we'll stay connected anyway. And I hope that I can come to the US and meet you. But the way it's going is just pushing everything. I was supposed to be there in November, but I don't think it's gonna happen. So blessing to everybody who's been able to be with us today. And I hopefully see you again on Monday when I have Craig here to share his knowledge on being unstuck. So that's all for today. You all take care, and have a great weekend. And
Thank you so much.
I see you all on Monday.